Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here at the headquarters of NATO for the first time as Canada's Minister of National Defence. I've just met with the Secretary General. We discussed the situation in Ukraine. We also discussed Canada's contribution to NATO. Finally, we discussed Arctic sovereignty and the importance of Arctic sovereignty for the security of Canada, North America, and the broader worldwide security situation. Je suis très heureuse de répondre à vos questions maintenant. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark from Associated Press. Last I heard, Canada had about 200 troops in Ukraine. How are you feeling right now? Is that enough troops for what your mission is? Do you feel like maybe more troops are in the future?
Well, thank you for the question. Last Wednesday, we committed to expanding and extending our current operation in Ukraine, which consists of 200 troops or so on the ground. We committed to increasing our capacity to 400 troops, with 60 troops leaving in the coming days from Canada. We also committed $340 million to expanding that mission, as well as additional forms of aid and support for cybersecurity and cyber surveillance. So our approach to Ukraine is strong, stable, and methodical. We have been on the ground there since 2015, and we will continue to support the international rules-based order and a strong, secure, and sovereign Ukraine.
Is 400 a comfortable number of troops for you?
We are continually examining our contribution not only in Ukraine but also under Operation Reassurance, which has approximately 900 Canadian Armed Forces able to be deployed to Central and Eastern Europe. We currently are also making sure that from a global strategic standpoint we are able to be supporting our obligations to NATO, the international rules-based order, as well as the territorial integrity of Ukraine. This is an ongoing situation. This did not start in November 2021. Since the Russian invasion of Crimea in 2014, Canada has been committed. We started with Operation Unifier. We also, in addition to those military issues and approaches that I just outlined, committed $120 million of a loan, as well as $50 million in economic and humanitarian aid last week. So, in other words, our support for Ukraine is ongoing, it's comprehensive, but we will continue to examine the situation as it evolves.
NATO is reinforcing its eastern border. What's the purpose of that right now? What do you hope to obtain?
Well, the most important piece of information that we should all recognize is that there has been an increasing presence of Russian troops along that eastern border, and as well as the border with Belarus. And the importance of a strong NATO commitment at the current time is undeniable. Why? Because at the current time, NATO is being tested. And it is incumbent upon all of us as NATO members to ensure that we are doing our part for the protection of a strong, secure, and stable Ukraine.
There is an answer from Russia on the answer from NATO and on the answers of NATO and the US. What's your first impression of the reaction of the Russians on this?
My impression is that at the current time, Russia has an important choice to make. It can choose to negotiate with a view to de-escalation, or it can face harsh economic sanctions. That is the choice on the table. That is what needs to be addressed at the current time. We are all very much hoping for a diplomatic solution, and that is something that is now in Russia's court to decide.
I'm coming from Reuters. What's your assessment of the chances of the Russian invasion of Ukraine?
At the current time, as I mentioned, we are hoping for a diplomatic solution. But at the same time, we do need to prepare for all eventualities. And what that has meant from a Canadian perspective is that we have moved the Canadian Armed Forces to the west of the Dnipro River, and we have undertaken some evacuation of non-essential staff and families from our embassy. At the same time, we are committing to support Ukraine with additional trainers on the ground, with non-lethal equipment, with financial aid. And so you can see that the security of Ukraine and the stability of Ukraine in this very concerning and very fluid moment is top of mind for me as Minister of National Defence, as well as for our country.
And when do you expect this non-lethal weaponry to arrive in Ukraine, and what difference do you think it will make?
It has begun to arrive already. And in terms of what difference it will make, let me lay out for you what some of this aid consists of, and then you'll be able to see for yourself how important it would be. Surveillance equipment, night vision equipment, goggles, mobile hospitals, equipment that would be used in the case of detonation of explosives. These are all very important aspects of ensuring preparedness, and Canada stands ready to support with this non-lethal aid. And as I said, it has begun to arrive already in Ukraine.
Is Canada ready to reinforce the Black Sea region?
Canada will do its part as a member of NATO, as well as on a bilateral basis, to support the international rules-based order which has been in place since the end of the Second World War. We make no mistake that at the current time there is a very threatening situation at the border. At the same time, we need to ensure that we recognize that Operation Unifier is a training mission. We are and have been training Ukrainian soldiers for the past 7 years. How many? Over 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been trained by the Canadian Armed Forces, including 2,000 members of the Ukrainian National Guard. If you think about that type of contribution and the longevity of it in terms of Ukraine's preparedness, I think that you will hopefully come to the realization that it is significant.
Vous pouvez nous dire en français comment le Canada contribue à aider l'Ukraine?
C'est clair pour moi, comme ministre de la Défense nationale, que depuis 2015, nous étions là pour l'Ukraine. Premièrement, par l'opération unifiée. Ça, c'est une opération où on peut avoir 200 soldats sur le terrain pour la formation. Et aussi, avec ça, nous avons entraîné plus de 30 000 soldats ukrainiens. Aussi, nous avons déjà donné 120 millions de dollars pour l'aide économique. Et aussi, dans les prochains jours, nous allons voir l'aide non-lethal arriver en Ukraine. Donc ça, c'est une importante situation pour les Canadiens, pour le monde aussi. Et nous pensons que la stabilité de l'Ukraine et la stabilité de l'Europe et la stabilité de le monde, ça, c'est l'importance pour l'OTAN et pour notre pays aussi. C'est une question que personne connaît la réponse, mais nous devons prendre les positions et penser pour toutes les éventualités. Et ça, c'est mon rôle comme ministre de la Défense nationale, en partenaire avec nos alliés, avec l'OTAN, de penser qu'est-ce que nous pouvons faire maintenant. Ça, c'est la raison que nous avons annoncé mercredi dernier de donner plus d'assistance pour l'Ukraine. Par exemple, par élargir l'opération unifiée et aussi de donner l'argent aussi, comme j'ai déjà dit.
Concerning liquefied natural gas, does Canada have more to offer Europe? Because Europe is looking also for energy security.
As Minister of National Defence, my role has primarily been in the support that the Canadian Armed Forces can offer Ukraine at this time. I know that my colleague, Minister Joly and Minister Freeland, are both working on a number of additional options together with our government, including the various ones that you mentioned.
Last question. Have you been in contact with Russia since Blinken sent the answers of the United States on the questionnaire of Russia?
Actually, my focus has been on ensuring a strong and stable alliance in response to the very concerning situation in Ukraine. I have spoken with a number of my NATO colleagues, including the United States, the United Kingdom, Spain, Portugal, Denmark, and Canada's role is to be a bridge builder from a transatlantic perspective in terms of solidifying the very important support for Ukraine in this particular moment in time. It is a role that we have historically played, and it is a role that we will continue to play. And I look forward to coming back to Brussels in 2 weeks for a meeting of defence ministers where we will continue this very important conversation. But make no mistake, Canada stands ready to continue to support and uphold the international rules-based order and the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.